Very, very weak. Yeah, he's home. I spoke to him yesterday. He couldn't even talk. Okay, it's on?
Yeah.
Okay. L'kutei Torah, Tzav, Peshut Gimel, second column. We're still in the middle. We didn't finish Pei Aleph yet. So we're like 10 lines before the end of Aleph. Okay, now the Rebbe asked a number of questions. One pasuk says 6 days eat matzah, one pasuk says 7 days eat matzah. So obviously it doesn't mean the mitzvah of eating matzah. It means by eating matzah 6 days, you come to the 7th day, which is Atzeret, which is Kriyas Yamsuf. So he says, L'chayre in Mitzrayim, they only ate matzah 1 day, and yet they had Kriyas Yamsuf. Why do we need 7 days to make that happen? Also, why by Pesach it says, Atzeret Hashem Elokecha, and by Shmini Atzeret it says, Atzeret Tiyah Lochem. And then he starts asking another thing. It says the reason why we eat matzah, v'kigoshim in Mitzrayim, they were driven out of Egypt, the dough didn't have a chance to rise. The question is, but they did have it, they were anyway commanded to eat matzah. And secondly, that matzah was after Chatzos. And this matzah that they ate in Mitzrayim was before Chatzos. So how do you reconcile all these things? Okay, so now the Rebbe says like this. The Inyan is like this. By bad of Teichlu Matzahs, when the pasuk commands the Yidden to eat matzah, it says ba'ed of Teichlu Matzahs. Now normally matzahs is spelled Mem Tzadik Vav Saf, which is plural. But over there it says matzahs Chasiv Vav. It says matzahs without the Vav, just Mem Tzadik Saf, which could be read matzahs. The Gaba Vayei for Ugeis Matzahs, but the ones they ate after midnight, that they were running out of Egypt, over there says Moli Vav with the Vav. So there's two matzahs, obviously. There's a matzah they ate before midnight, there's a matzah they ate after midnight. The matzah they ate before midnight was the mitzvah one, they had a mitzvah to eat it. And over there it says matzahs without a Vav. The one they ate after midnight, it says matzahs with a Vav. What's the difference? So Vav, what's the level, meaning of a Vav? Vav we learned many times in Chassidus. What's the letter Vav? Goes a line from up, down. So Vav represents Hamshacha, from higher to lower. So he says, in Mitzrayim the Yidden had two levels of, two separate matzahs. Matzah by one is Ba'er Teichlu Matzahs, which is matzah before Chatzos, before midnight. That was a matzah without the Vav. And the Beis is the second one, Vayei for Sabbatik Ugeis Matzahs, which is the matzah Acher Chatzos, which is with the Vav, meaning after Hashem revealed upon them. So in other words, there's a matzah pre-revelation of Hashem, there's a matzah post-revelation of Hashem. The matzah before the revelation without a Vav, because it's lacking the revelation from higher to lower. The matzah they ate, but they ran out of Egypt. After midnight, that had the Vav.
When did they run out, Rabbi? When did they run out of Egypt? At night? After Chatzos or the day?
At Chatzos, Hashem came and killed the firstborn. Pari woke up, okay, he called for Moshe Rabbeinu and said, get out of here. Okay? So the Pearl then started the leaving process. But later on the pasuk says, in the middle of the day. So the answer is very simply, they started, you know what it is to take out 3 million Jews? A guy has a family of 4 kids, it takes him 10 years to go out. You know what I mean? 3 million Jews to get out of here. It takes time. They did it pretty quick, by the way. One day they all got out. Okay, now therefore now God do we say, why do we eat this matzah? That the dough of our forefathers didn't have a chance to rise because they were so rushed. Which is the Inyan of matzahs with a Vav, which is after Chatzos Dafka. So now the Rebbe is saying as follows. The matzah we eat today, before midnight, because you have to eat matzah before midnight halachically, is the level of matzah that they ate after midnight. The matzah is also from the level of sheish some techel matzahs was above. with the vav, shemizeh muchach. The matzah shanu eichon. The matzah we eat now, because what does it say in the pasuk? Sheishes yomim teichel matzahs. The mitzvah. That matzah is with a vav, meaning the matzah mitzvah that we eat today before chatzos is the level of matzah they ate after chatzos, and therefore it could be one of the questions that the Rebbe asked at the beginning of the Maimer, it implied that by eating matzah 6 days, through that you come to the 7th day, Atzeres. So what's the connection? The Alter Rebbe asked. Now the Alter Rebbe is explaining, because through eating matzah, which is that revelation of Elokus, now we can understand why we come to the level of Kriyas Yamsuf. Be'er mashvi Atzeres Hashem Alakach.
What does it mean that matzah before chatzos is like the one day after chatzos?
What's the problem?
What does that mean?
The matzah that we eat before chatzos is the same level of kedusha that the matzahs they ate after chatzos.
I thought they ate also before chatzos.
But that wasn't the same matzah they ate after chatzos.
No, but the commandment was to eat it before chatzos.
Right. So our commandment of eating matzah before chatzos is the same level as the matzah they ate after chatzos, after the revelation of Elokus.
But I thought they didn't eat after chatzos.
They did.
But the commandment was to eat it before.
The mitzvah was to eat before, but then they ate because the dough didn't have a chance to rise.
Okay, so in fact, they ate after.
They ate 2 matzahs in Mitzrayim. One in Mitzrayim before they left.
Which was before chatzos.
Right? That was the mitzvah to
It
eat.
was be'etzem ha'yamazeh, right?
No, that's when they left already.
Right. So it didn't. So they ate the night.
They ate matzah the night of the Seder.
The night before.
And then they ate when they ran out. Okay.
We have a common number that we have to eat it before Chassidus. What's the reason for
Because the mitzvah is be'eretz teichel matzahs. You have to eat it. A Pesach ein nechel alat chatzos. You have to eat it before midnight.
What do you mean that they got out of Mitzrayim? I'm shocked. How did they get out of the whole country in one night?
That was the miracle.
The Ram says they got, like, somebody saying, I got out of America. Got out of
They
Washington.
texted everybody out.
Time for you to leave.
What?
Other Moshe talked to 3 million people in a couple hours.
A good microphone.
Exit. Stay right.
So you tell this story to kids, they accept it.
Yeah, the adults that make all the problems.
The whole Seder.
Kids have a munah.
The whole Seder rather is about.
Seichos, I don't understand it. How could it be? It happened.
It did happen. The Torah says it happened.
When Moshe Rabbeinu gathered all the Vayakol Moshe is Kol Adas B'nai Yisrael. Yeah? Simply it means, but we read last Shabbos, yeah? Moshe Rabbeinu gathered all the Jews together and spoke to them. So let's say it even means the men. Yeah? Let's say. He gathered 600,000 Jews. Yes? Let's say 600,000 men. Okay, let's say that's who he gathered. Yeah? And he spoke to them. No, he obviously didn't have a mic. Correct? How do you speak to 600,000 people that they hear you? You ever think about that? I mean, it's an obvious thing. Moshe Rabbeinu gathered all the Jews and he spoke to them. Okay? That's number one. How long did it take him to gather 600,000 Jews? Now it would take about 3 years. Right? Yet in one day, he gathered all, how did it happened? In those days, he used to listen.
No doubt it happened. But when they said they got out of Egypt, all the Jews got together and came to Moshe Rabbeinu and they got out of one position or the whole country or the
How long was the miracle Kriyas Yamsuf from beginning to end?
answer was 1 day.
1 day. Now analyze the situation. They went into the Yam, 3 million people. 3 million people went into the Yam, okay, they made a U-turn, and they came back, and then the Egyptians went in and drowned. Yeah? How long does it take 3 million people to walk anywhere. They didn't have scooters. They didn't have cars. What did they do? They walked. And now that the kids picked fruit off the trees. The Medrash says. Huh?
And the jewelry.
Yeah, whatever. So you tell me, how did they do it in one day, 3 million people going like this? Jews yet. Men, women, and children. Huh? Yeah, but it took one day.
No, I'm not questioning.
That's a Miami.
Yeah,
I mean, if they make it U, it's not a water split.
yeah.
If it's a U, the bottom part is standing, and the top part is just like a. If it's a U, the bottom part.
What's the difference of you or straight?
It's a U.
Yeah, what's the difference of if it's a U or straight? The water moved and they walked through.
The U has a bottom part within the U that is by itself a stagnant part of piece of water.
You know what the word hakachainik means? That's what it is. Okay, let's go. Love and cause that to understand all of this 2 matzah before chatzos, after chatzos, this whole. So we need to understand the famous thing we learned many times. It says in the pasuk, a man does not live on bread alone. He lives on chodesh. What's it called? Chodesh? Ice cream, chocolate. Yeah. But the pasuk, Napoleon? Chocolate. Cholent. It says a man does not live on bread alone. So simply the pasuk means you don't live on bread alone, you live on everything else Hashem created also. That's the simple meaning. But Al Rebbe says this pasuk, there's a mitzvah, it's a kusha. This pasuk answers the question, how is it possible that food has the ability to give life to a person? Bread comes from plant life. And the person is 2 categories higher, a level of a human. How is it possible for something lower to sustain something higher? It's a very simple question. Normally, to be sustained, you have to get sustained from somebody higher than you. How can food sustain a human? So it says, what does it mean, Elo? What does the pasuk answer? The answer is, you don't live from the bread itself. The bread itself is a plant which is lower than a person. That comes into the bread. Meaning, you don't live from the physical bread, you live from the word of Hashem, the power of Hashem that's in the bread. I know. When the Hashem said that the earth sprouted out vegetation, that power of Hashem that makes vegetation happen, that is what gives life to the person. So it's not the physical bread, it's the power of Hashem in it. That food, that power of Hashem goes into the food, and that's what gives life to the person. So that's the answer to the question. But Al Rebbe asks, it doesn't make sense anyway. We need to understand, a person has his own word of Hashem in it. He said, Nasa Adam, in Kein Lama Yekabel Chayes. Why does he need to get sustenance? Why does a person need to sustain himself from the utterance of Hashem that's in the food? We have our own utterance of Hashem within us, Nasa Adam. Right? So why do we need the utterance which is from something lower? Based on what's explained in many places, the B'chin is Daimim Tzemer Chai, inanimate plant and human, an animal, Shoshim B'chinas Elam Atehu, which is called them B'chinas Elam Atekun. Because inanimate plant and inanimate plant and animal come from the world of Tehu, which is higher than the world of Tikkun, which is the world where a person comes from. Like he's going to explain, the higher the thing, the lower it falls. So the fact that down here, inanimate and plant and animal are all lower than a person, that means in the source it's higher than the person. So therefore when a person eats food, he's sustaining himself or herself from the power of Hashem that's in the food, which is greater than the power of Hashem that's in my Nasa Adam. Because it's slower, so it comes from a higher place.
Is this different manner than you started with? Did you change it?
No, I didn't change. Same.
From matzah you went to bread.
What do you think matzah is? What brach do you make a matzah? A meitzi lechem. Matzah is bread. He said, trust me, I'll get back to it.
Rabbi, make alachilas matzah.
Yeah, but first you make up, when you eat matzah during the week, what do you say?
It's whatever. Some people make mistakes.
Lechem eini. Lechem eini. It's called lechem.
Right.
They make a mezainis because they hold it's not bread, because it's flat.
That's why?
Because they hold it's flat, it's not bread.
It's flat.
That's a whole bich sanene issue, it's not there. Okay. Huh?
$32 a pound is not that money.
Everyone was having a special.
You have to have a special bracha to get the money to pay for the matzah.
Amen. God's news.
That's why you say lechem eini, bread of affliction, bread of poverty, poor man's bread. After you pay for it, you're poor. He says, Elosh and that level of tail comes down all the way down. Then you create physical objects. And the main primary level of Eilam HaTikun is Chochmah Vatzilus, which is, yes, down here it's higher, but in the source it's lower. So therefore we're sustaining ourselves from the power of Hashem. By the way, the whole Ranat, Tafrei Test, there's the Hemshech of the Rabbi Rashab. He asks the question at the beginning of the Maimer, why is it when you speak, you understand something better than if you think it? The Chayra, thought is higher than speech. So when you think it, you should understand it better than when you say it. And yet we know physically when you speak something, you understand it better. So the whole Hemshech goes about that Dibur is Malchus, and down here speech is lower, but in the source it's higher. So when you speak something, you're revealing the source of it, and the source of it is higher than Machshava. The whole concept, because lower accomplishes more than higher does. Because down here, the fact that it's lower originates in a higher place.
Sit down in the coffee.